Welcome to London's craziest gangster. With me, Mr. Fish, keeper of the dead man's Bible, where all the rules of society are thrown, tossed, and washed away. I'm the guy standing on the pavement, riding on the train, sitting on the bus, looking at all you people thinking, I wonder what it's like to be you. To wait, to work, to eat, to sleep, to dream, to die. So anyway, today, crash out your father. And remember, whose motto is, if angels fly and devils die, how come I'm still alive? So remember now, today's a question and answers session I'm doing with a good friend of mine. So I'm going to let him talk and see where we go. Never tried this before, first time, but easy on the mic and go. So his name is, I won't tell you his name because he's not worth it. But here we go. Enjoy the show.
Okay, so basically, I'm trying to get a bit of reality into something I'm writing. And I want to ask you, and I know that you've never done anything like this, but what I'm really interested in is how you find out about a job, especially when it's about, someone who's got some stuff, like street stuff.
Well, I'll say street stuff.
All right.
Say what it is. Cocaine, guns, drugs.
Yeah. Just say like you wanted to rob someone. You heard. Just talk me through how you would hear it, how you'd set it up, and how it would
materialise. Okay, well, what it is, number one, shouts come from the criminal fraternity. It used to come. It's very difficult now. I mean, the problem I have now, being away for 10.5 years, I've come out, and a lot of people now, have made their dough, shut shop, moved on, So, but what used to happen in the old days was someone would come up to you and say, "Oh, look, Fish, I've got this job or that job or this show, and they've got this, that, or that," and we would then decide. I would then decide whether we wanted to take it on or not. So when you talk about shouts and how we acquire the information, a lot of it becomes from loose lips sink ships, and another way it comes to you. A lot of it comes out of jealousy, and this is why I tell you guys all out there. Listen, you need to treat everybody the same, and that's why when I go on bits of work and I do get shouts, what do turn to fruition. That is why I always pay everybody, regardless of the role they've played in the actual job. But I pay everybody the same, because when you don't, it causes people to walk around grass and grass you up because they didn't get the same. So it causes a lot of jealousy. So that's how the shouts come about. A lot of shouts as well. You're going to like this. A lot of shouts. And this is why I always say I never really stick within the criminal fraternity. You will never see me mixing with them. Even though I know them all, I don't mix with them. I always mix with hard-working, decent people. And that is where the majority of some of the shouts come from.
So why would you turn one down? What would be the factors that you go, that's a good call, or give me something that would be a bad call?
Okay. Turning things down, okay. There are certain things we don't like to get involved with. Relationships. We don't do relationships because people go, "Oh, he was a bastard, he was this, she was a cow, she was..." And then you go and give a slap or whatever, you do what you have to do, and crash. Next minute they're back in love, and then you're doing fucking 30 years. So that other things we don't do. So you see, you can get shouts, but I had a shout once of a very high-end jewellery retailer, and the shout was at his house in Kensington. Now, he owns a great big massive jewellery shop in Bond Street. Listen, the jewellery shop in Bond Street, yeah, let's go and do it. At least it's the shop. But to go in his house, his wife and kids, and they're aggravated burying, that's... I don't like hurting people, and I don't like invading their home. So those are the kind of shouts that we don't do. And some other times... Sometimes shouts, people don't give you the correct information. And so even when the great Tranny robbery happened, I was supposed to do that a week earlier. But as I went to do it a week earlier, the guy called me the day before I was about to and said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you something, Fish. When you go in, there's a lock that you have to turn a certain way." And I thought, whoa, hold on here. Mate, what else have you fucking forgot to tell me? Do you know what I mean? And so it was, it was a little bit annoying. So that's there. So that's kind of shout that I would turn down. And also, it depends where it is. It could be in the most dangerous situation, surrounded by cities. There's sort of fortress. It's some things you do have to turn down. It was like when we was looking at Heathrow. We were there, and my boys were there, and they done it later on. I got caught, but I always said to them in the beginning, not to do it because the tank was there. And when the tank is outside Heathrow, you got to remember, when a tank anywhere in our country or America, they have satellites on the tank. So you don't know what those satellites pick up elsewhere. So that was a shout I turned down, and
That's amazing. That's amazing. Right. So those are the ones you wouldn't. Would you turn down a shout if it was the people you were working with? Say there was somebody you didn't fully trust.
Well,
have you ever?
No. I'm skint now, and I'd rather be skint than work with people that with people that are outside the circle. For me, it's law. Especially now. I've had loads of cases in prison where a lot of my mates. There was one guy who got arrested for drugs. I forgot his name. Very well respected in the game, and he was going around the house visiting these drug dealers, getting heroin and boxes of white, and she was pregnant. Everything looked well. And then 8 months down the line, bang, I got nicked. There was old Bill undercover. So you just don't know who you're talking to, So I never come out my circle.
Amazing. All right. So what is the skill now? Okay. So you've got the information. You heard a shout. You've got the information. But what is the skill? Do you know what I mean in terms of doing the job? What is the skill?
What do you mean?
Well, what is the skill in terms of is it like breaking in?
Okay.
Is it knowing when they're not going to be there? Do you have to get more information?
Okay. The skill involved. Number one, you've got to make sure you go and have a look at the job. You have to go and assess the job. Yeah. That like I went to the Great Trading Robbery. Remember, I told you I was dressed in a pair of shorts to make myself look stupid, so that when I went in, they laughed at me. Well, that was exactly what he'd done, because you have to go and assess. You have to assess the CCTV. You have to assess the style. You have to assess the area, police stations, time, and you have to know the area. Like, in Kensington, we knew that once we hit that town and we got that money, we knew the helicopter would be up in the air. And so, for me personally, there's a lot of work and effort has to go into a job, a creativity. I'm always a leader as well. So the first thing is, my first priority is to get the boys back home to their families. That's the first. So in order to do that, the trick of the game is, for me personally, other people have their own ways and I respect them, man. But the trick of the game for me is, I never ever look at the money or look at the gold or look at whatever we're going for, or look at, sometimes it might have to give someone a slap or involve guns. But we never ever look at the money aspect. Once you look at the money, the gold or whatever it is, and just look at that sole priority, then you don't look at the surveillance around it, you don't look at the security around it, you're not preparing fire exits in case it comes on top, you're not dressing to fit in, and that's another thing with these areas. Sometimes with these jobs you have to dress to fit in. There's no point, me going to, let's say, a poor part of the country or London and dressing like this, because you stick out like a sore thumb. So if you're going to go into a rich area, you have to dress as rich. You're going to go into poor, you have to dress as poor. Or you have to dress as a dustman or something to fit into that area. And it's very important. very important when you do any kind of work that you fit in, not fit out, and that's where a lot of people make a mistake. I mean, there's no point having a getaway car and going at 900 like the films. You still see them zooming off. Like, why would you zoom off in a getaway car, bringing it all on top for you? Another thing we do, if you're giving someone a slap, and I've had this before, and it was in top part of London, near Tottenham Court Road, top part. We had to give the slap, and the thing was, at that time, 6, 7 in the evening, it's packed, and you make noise, and the fella was coming after, screaming, "Get them, stop them!" And I told my partner not to run, and he ran to the motor, and I just walked, and walking, everybody looked past me, and so you have to have a really good idea of what you're about, and understand society so you can fit in. So does that answer your question?
Yeah,
Okay.
so much. Now, this is really one of the last questions.
No, keep going. Go.
It's like, okay, so when people store their gear, they keep it in what you would call a safe house, right? If you're going to their safe house to get their product, right? So, what are those safe houses? Would they ever be like with alarmed? Like people there with guns, or do you know what I mean? Would that be a worry?
I have to laugh when it comes to what you're saying. People always assume that safe houses, that you're always going to hit someone in a safe house. But one of my biggest things was not a safe. I mean, it was one of the biggest in the end when the police investigated it, because of the shooting involved. It turned out to be one of the biggest drug seizures in the country, and that was on the street. But as I said to you, I don't really like to. You see, drug dealers to me are still in the game, so I don't really like to go and rob drug dealers. I mean, it's all the rage right now, and I respect that, but for me, they're taking the same risk. I've just had a very couple of good friends of mine just been arrested right now. I'm gutted for them. They're good people, but they became complacent, and that's where you are now. And I'm gutted, to be honest with you. But look, anywhere can be a safe house. The problem with today is, what I noticed is, talking of safe houses, a lot of people, they because you see, it's all about snakes now, isn't it? Snakes and ladders. And so the problem is, because people are snakes, they can't trust other people, because they don't have the same moral and code and principle as if you was brought up in the fraternity with the old villains and that. And so Crash, as your father, what's happening is, people are scared to have a safe house in case the person robs them or snitches on them, or not snitches, or whatever. But so it's difficult. And a safe house doesn't always have to be in a safe house. A safe house can be in a boat. It could be down a train. It could be in a scrapyard. A safe house could be in the telly, can't it? It could be anywhere. It could be outside in the park, innit? Up a tree, wherever. And this is why, when it comes to your question about safe house, the information is always loose lips most of the time. Yeah, and those loose lips go and either tell the police or they tell you, and sometimes in regards to jobs and so, you find a lot of the working people, when they're at parties and things, that they get drunk and then they say, "Oh, we got like £900 million worth of diamonds in the drawer in the reception," and so then you go, "Oh yeah," and then you pick that up, and then you think, "Oh, we're going to do that," but they don't know you're going to do it, but you decide to do it. So yeah, so safe houses are, it could be anywhere.
Yeah. So just Now, the fact is, what you're talking about is stuff that you've heard about or you know about. Now, if I am involved in dramatising it, would it work if I had a safe house that was heavily fortified and guarded as drama?
You know, dramatise or whatever. I mean, look, me personally, I don't watch films. I like Heat is my favourite film, but I don't. Other than that, I don't really watch gangster films about prison. Why do I need to watch it? We've done it. And the second thing is, if you copy a lot of what these films dictate to you, it's going to get you caught, and that's why a lot of people do get caught because they see ideas on the telly. Yeah, we don't do that. Anything. I mean, a film's a film. I mean, you can make that film. In a film, you can do anything. You're allowed to have a fortified house and get it broken into. It's a film. It's a drama. Yeah. In reality, it's a totally different thing. You understand? Yeah. But as Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, that's why I love the Israelis and the Jews. I listen to them. I watch them, and no matter what you think or say, they are ahead in the game. And one thing he said is, listen, we're in the age of the electronics now and the internet. He said, mate, if it's electric, it can be hacked, and I've always admired him for that and respected what he said and listened. So this is the problem, they're fortified. You say, people thought EncroChat, the phone.
Yeah.
They thought that was fortified, didn't they? They thought they was getting electronics. It couldn't be hacked. It couldn't be listened to. Yeah, everyone spent £1,500 on it. And then look, what they done? They brought the whole fucking criminality network down. And then the FBI decided to get a fictitious one, didn't they? And they brought it down and followed it through. You understand? So you have to ask yourself, don't you? Like, hey. Anyway, so in a drama, you can do whatever you want. In a film, you can do whatever you want. Yeah. You're not getting nicked, are you?
Yeah. All right, well.
What else?
I think that's it.
No, you guys, we still got another hour. You see what I'm saying with these guys?
No, because I've got to go.
Mate, forget what he got to do. Mate, he's got to carry on. Right? He said he ain't got to go here. All right, so Crash, give me another more question. He's got a thing. Here he is writing a drama about criminality, right? And Crash now, he's always asking me about probation hostels and this and that.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, shit.
Do
you want to move on to that? See, what I wanted was to do it in segments. So this is.
Well, we are doing it.
But let me ask you.
This is what happens when you come out of the criminal fraternity. Did you hear what he said? I want to do it in statements. We are doing it in statements.
No, segments.
In segments? Yeah. You're still doing it in segments.
All right.
But you put them in different
order. Well, let me ask you that. Because we were talking about if you had a gun, right? So in a setup, it's someone gives someone a gun and he says, listen, if you stash it here outside a probation hostel, that's the last place anyone's going to look. Now, I know in the real world, that would never happen. Right?
No, you're wrong.
Yeah.
You see, this is what I'm saying about these straight guys who try to think like criminality. You get me? Yeah. Anything goes in the criminality world because, as I said to you, not everybody Crash thinks like you. How's your father? So because of that, this is what. Okay, I'm going to slide it a little bit. We had the shooting of the little girl in Liverpool, and then we had the kid like Ryan, the little boy, many years ago. And I see some YouTubers on there talking about and asking what happens there. I think it also happens here in London. The guy said, why does it always happen down there? And I thought, well, no, it's not fair. It happens everywhere. And what you have to realise, it's when the kids get caught in the crossfire, a lot of it has to do with people don't understand the rules around guns and the rules around criminality, and that is what causes major problems. Now, in regards to him talking about probation, you hide it there. A person can hide a gun anywhere, but I'd have gone out to the police armory. I mean, we didn't hide it, but we got it from there. You understand what I'm saying? It can come from anywhere. But when you talk about what happened in Liverpool to the little girl, and I see a lot of people under pressure to understand why. We've got to remember, out in the sticks, they don't always have the same opportunity as us in the smoke, and so it's a little bit of trial and error, and they're learning from the telly rather than from the elders, and so that is why a lot of these kids get caught in the crossfire, because it's done in places where we wouldn't do it, and it's done in such a way. You have to make sure when you're using guns. Look, you've got to make sure you hit the right target. You've got to make sure you're not hitting the wife, the kid. Listen, and number two, you get close up. And I think a lot of these guys that do it out in the sticks, some of them, you remember, there are so many different guys doing different things that all do it with a different mentality. So you can never just say 1 thing, 2 thing, 3. I think, you've answered the question. It can't. There are millions and billions of reasons of why the girl and the boy and why it's happening. But we can suggest some of the reasons are they don't really want to pull in that trigger. It's very difficult sometimes, unless you're really physically fit and understand what you're going to hurt another human being. It's very, very difficult. And for a lot of these, I'd say some of these youngsters who are pulling the triggers, or men, they're not really in the game. They're not really built for it. They don't really understand it. They're prepared to do it, but it depends on what their mental state is when they're prepared to do it. Are they on drugs, crack, cocaine, heroin, whatever? Are they? There the phone goes there. Are they? Just tell them I'll be back now. Ring me back in 5 minutes. I'm in the interview.
You call back in 5 minutes.
Yeah. And so that is for
Hello.
Yeah, he answered. Okay. So that's what I'm saying. There are many reasons as to why. So people, and with guns, people leave guns everywhere, don't they? Some people leave it with your brothers, you leave it with your cousins. Some people leave it under the bed. It's not. The education's gone from the game.
Yeah. But the smartness, let me answer this. Really So the smartness, though, would be not, because if as I've got it in the script, it's left in this place, but then the character has to take the gun, and then he's walking around with the gun, and that means that he's more likely he could get stopped. Right?
Yeah, as I just said to you, and this is what I'm saying, this is why we have the kids getting shot in Liverpool. People watching films, as he's doing, he's making a drama, he's asking me questions. This is dramatization, yeah? It's a different game, yeah? It's a different game. This is what I'm telling you. In the old days, we never used to walk around with guns, yeah? We didn't, we did, okay, we always used to go to the armourer and say to the armourer, "I'll do me a favor, I need a gun." And he would say to you, "Okay, what for?" And you would tell him, "Oh, for this or for that." Now, if he thought the reason, like, you had to hunt with, say, somebody, Bang Bang Ray Hill, and I wanted to go and shoot Bang Bang Ray Hill, and because he called me a black so-and-so, and the guy who was giving the gun and say, "Fish, look, it's right, is that it? You're going to kill him for that? Come on, mate, slow down." And he wouldn't give you the gun, so you had a safety mechanism. But now a lot of people have got guns, and they're walking around and they don't understand the headaches of carrying guns and walking around and letting guns off, and so that's why we're in this predicament where we are today. And also, let me just explain something to you. You have to remember, when it comes to guns, and maybe with knives, you remember, in different areas have different mindsets. So some places you can go out into the sticks and you know, we call it country, Manchester, Liverpool, Nottingham, but we could say some of the places like that. They have people where they think if you kill a policeman, it's worth 5 stars. And Walter Landings for 35 years, that's stars to them. So that's another thing that adds to the dangers of guns and is the mentality of the person involved who carries it. That's a very, very dangerous situation that you have to control. Massive. But you would never. I mean, if you left a gun outside a probation hostel and picked it up and then carried it out, let me tell you something. If you have got nicked, it's over. Because you remember, you've come out of prison, you're put in a probation hostel, maybe because you haven't got a flat or they want to keep an eye on you. So probation hostel is still prison. You still have to report in. You still have your room checked every morning and every evening. You still have to report out. You still have to have meetings. So it's still a prison. So therefore, if you get caught with a gun in a place where you're supposed to learn, mate, crash as your father, you're in trouble. Right.
All right.
Listen. Remember,
you so much.
I don't know what he's talking about. He's always talking a load of bollocks. So let me tell you now, yeah. Remember where you heard me first. Remember where you saw me last. Back again. Nice to be back. Thank you for my supporters, all you subscribers, non-subscribers, pals, friends, and I'll be doing one every day now. So hopefully, see you soon from the Black Boy who's called the Loon. Bye.